It's a banking episode of the Pete the Planner Show. Why do I say that? Well, hold on. Let me bring on Dame and Kristen. Hello, Christy. Hello, Damie.
Hello, Petey.
Anyone ever call you Damie?
No.
We do now. Damie, two things to note from a banking perspective. Number one, who is getting disciplined?
I'm shutting them down right now. It was probably
Who is getting fined?
Was it the notification?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was so loud. An angel got its wings.
It was very
What's wrong with that? Why can't angels get their wings?
A coworker and I, who runs our finance team, man of one, a young man, looks very young. And I went to the bank yesterday to do some major banking things. I had to go because as the chief executive officer, I had to sign stuff. But I'm not involved. I'm involved, and I'm like, it's his thing. I'm just there. So, Dame, the dynamic is this. Really young looking guy at our organization and me, who could pass for someone's grandfather. So it's like grandson taking grandpa to sell his annuities or his CDs so he can buy annuities, right? Like it just sets up terrible, right? And so we're walking in and I'm starting to I'm shuffling to make it look like I'm older. And every once in a while we'll meet with the banker and I'm like, what are CD rates? Like, it's just like this to make it uncomfortable for him. And it was really humbling to know that I really felt like my coworker's grandfather in that situation. What say you, Dave?
I mean, it only makes sense in the progression of the company. I mean, you've got a son. You might as well have a grandchild. So the only question is, am I his father?
Yeah, I think so. Man. Also, just another quick banking update. You know what today is? I get to pay my mortgage today, so I'm pretty excited.
Enjoy that dumb sucker.
Every time I pay the mortgage, I get this yellow receipt. And I was looking this weekend at home. I have a stack of yellow receipts from all my payments. And I have to say, other than my grandfather's Pringles can piggy bank on my desk here, I think my stack of mortgage receipts might be my prized possession.
Okay, so great point. Are you planning on handing that stack of receipts down?
Don't do that to your kids.
Yeah, I'm teaching them a lesson.
No, because then they're going to have to keep it forever. No.
Who's on time more between you two, if I may switch the topic briefly? Who's... You guys are about the same, right?
It's pretty split. We both value punctuality. I don't think we're...
I'm not late.
So Ted drags his self slowly this morning to my car for carpool. I was 8 minutes late for work. And I was just like telling my guy, I was like, brother, what are you doing? He's like, oh, my fault. Have you ever tried to teach anything to a 12-year-old boy, Kristen? God, thanks for not saying yes, because I didn't want to have to do the paperwork. Hi, guys.
Hello.
All worked up today. Kristen, we will talk about in the next break. You have no heat in your home.
I have no heat in my home.
What is the current temperature of your home?
52.
What do you usually keep your home at?
Come on.
That's a great question.
60.
Oh, throw a sweatshirt on. I mean,
boy, the ice queen. Can we start calling you the ice queen? 60 degrees.
Okay, what do you keep it at in the summer?
Like 74, 5.
Dame, I'm trying to choose my words here, but I'm just going to go for it. Are you that cheap? Like, what? Really?
Yeah. But also, I like to be cold when I sleep, and I have 2 big dogs. Like, so to be cold when you sleep, you have to keep your house colder.
How about your partner?
Oh, he does not care for it.
And you win?
Well, yeah. I pay the NIPSCO bill. I say, if you want more heat, pay the bill. And he says, I'll get a sweater.
Man, Dame, I'm learning a lot about Kristen on this show.
What if he called you bluff? What if he said, "Fine, I'm gonna"? And what would you allow him to set it at?
He could set it to whatever he wanted, but he wouldn't do that because then he couldn't complain. So
this is the big talk around HQ this week is temperature of which people keep their house. We have one coworker, I think, that keeps their house at like 78 or like 84 or something. And it's like, what? I will not name names. All right, let's start the show. No one cares. What are we doing? What's this? Do you want to do the social media one first?
I don't care.
Is that your screenshot? Is that what you're talking about? Or
let's just go in 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us, askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. What happened? We will answer your question on the air. Like, maybe. Like, we'll give you okay answers at best on the air. Joining me is certified financial planner Kristen Elanius and certified financial planner Damian Dunn. Hello, experts.
Kristen, do you want to correct him?
I was just going to say, do you want to correct him or do you want me to?
Okay, go ahead.
CFP board is very particular about how you refer to yourself or how you are titled on things like they're not going to come after you, Pete, because frankly, it doesn't matter if they do or not. They don't have any legal power over you. But if we were to do it, they would insist that we refer to ourselves as certified financial planner practitioners.
I hate everything. Dame, I told you when I had a securities license back in the day, I was on Studio B with Shepard Smith on Fox News. It was always a great show. And I was a regular guest. And once he welcomed me as personal financial expert Peter Dunn, and I got fined $1,000 by my broker dealer because personal finance expert was approved. Personal financial expert was not approved. And I hate everything. Anyway, on this week's show, several things. Speaking of dumb, Dame, Kristen, there's so many things on social media that look like really cool, catchy rules of thumb for personal finance. And then when you dig into them a little deeper, they get real dumb real fast. I saw one this week. And we're not naming names. We're not here to embarrass anybody. That's not the point. The point is be very careful what you see on social media as it relates to your financial decisions. And it was this chart, Kristen, that said, if this is your salary, this is the max you should spend on mortgage or rent. Okay, everyone loves something like this, even here at Your Money Line. And Pete the Planner, we have things like this. Ours are just good. This one makes no sense. And so let's spend some time going over how silly this thing is. Did you get a look at it, Kristen?
I did. And apparently you've done research. So
I did some math.
I cannot wait to hear the conclusion that you've come to.
Do you think we're going to have a fundamentally different conclusion, you and I?
Oh, no.
Okay. Dame, as a certified financial planner practitioner, do you have a feeling that this may go wonky for you?
Highly unlikely, Peter.
Okay, so the idea within the whatever this is, it says anything more than what I recommend, and you will not retire early or be work optional sooner than traditional retirement age. Okay, so this is suggesting if you spend any more than what this person says, then you will not. And I will argue that his limits are so bad that it's virtually impossible to retire on time at 67. Virtually impossible if you follow this. And so let's get after it. I'm going to start at $200,000 because I think it's sort of a funny place to start.
Sure.
He simply did what you might think. He said, I want 25% of gross income to go towards mortgage payment or rent. Kristen, you see this all the time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And in banks, to some degree, debt income ratio, but they operate under this as well.
Yeah, they do, but a bank is going to loan you more than that for sure.
Dame, on the surface, $25,000 or 25% of $200,000 is a mortgage payment or rent. On the surface, before we get into my mathematics, do you have a problem with this?
25%?
Yeah.
No, I have no problem with 25%
of gross.
Are you pushing me here?
Yeah, I am pushing you.
Of gross? Might have a problem of 25% of gross.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you put 15% of your paycheck into a 401k and you had average healthcare costs, your net paycheck in the state of Indiana would be $9,034 a month. The person here says that you should pay no more than $4,100 towards rent or mortgage if you make $200,000 a year. Dame, that is 46 to 47% of a person's take-home pay. Why is that bad?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there's other things that I like to do, like eat and travel and take care of my family. You are absolutely committing yourself to a huge chunk of your income going forward for 15, 30 years, and you don't have the flexibility you're going to need in your income to be able to absorb, when life happens to all of us. It inevitably happens to all of us where unexpected stuff happens. I don't care even if you have a good emergency fund already saved, because if you have to dip into it, spending half of your income on rent or mortgage is likely going to prevent you from replenishing that emergency fund should you need to dip into it. This absolutely hamstrings you, and you have to plan on everything going perfect, absolutely perfect for the rest of your life to have a shot at making it.
Kristen, I just really regret what I did in the last 10 seconds. I looked up this person that gave this advice. Have you looked this person up?
I did not.
Fitness, money, and life coach. And the cover photo is this person with amazing abs, like really great abs. He is hot, but dumb. Because Dame, not only will a person, if they follow this advice, not retire on time, this idea of early retirement, which is always this carrot of YOLO, no way. There's absolutely no chance. Kristen, $200,000 income, 15%. So we're going to say $9,000 a month of take-home pay.
Okay.
What do you don't have to follow your money line 25%. What do you want the mortgage payment to be if your take-home pay is $9,000 a month?
I would start with 25%, but gentlemen, I'm not sure I'm as firm of a stance as the two of you do.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't have the same hardcore curmudgeon stance as two hardcore curmudgeon elders?
Believe it or not, no. And the reason is a concept that we've talked about before, which is that 25% rule does not feel the same at $200,000 a year as it does at the median household income of what is the median, like 73-ish. So it's much more difficult when your median household income is lower because you have less margin.
Okay, so I agree with you, actually. I shouldn't be surprised. You are a certified financial planner practitioner.
Bingo.
Here's why. It's because of transportation, honestly. That's what always justifies it for me. Is that if you're making $200,000 a year, yeah, you can spend more on housing because you're likely to not spend a proportionate amount of 15% of your income on transportation. You're making $100,000 a year, 15% on transportation on that net, which is $4,500, is going to be different. So, Kristen, give me a number. $9,000 a month of income. You make $200,000 gross. What do you want the mortgage payment to be?
I do want it to be 25%, but I'm not going to be upset if it's 30 or 35 even.
So you want it to be $2,250. I did the math.
Sure.
Damien?
Yeah, and we talked there's geographic anomalies in here that is going to change all of this as well. But if you can target 25% and then make location-specific adjustments, you're going to be in much better shape.
Before we go to break, 30 seconds here. Kristen, let's go down to 100,000 here for a second. What we're basically saying, taxes are a little different there, but $1,100 a month towards mortgage payment or rent. If you make $100,000, that's that 25% rule. That's where it gets very difficult.
It does. The advice falls apart.
But I also say on the other side of our boy here, $100,000. He says you can spend $2,000 a month on a mortgage and still retire early. Impossible. We'll come back after the break right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'll tell you, as a content creator for the last 20 years, you feel so compelled to put out these tight, memorable, or some would say memorable ideas, and you don't know the damage you're doing. Because this guy's got a massive following because he's hot. This is why I'm glad aesthetically I'm a 4, because I think people will take me more seriously. Dame, you too. I mean,
wait, time out. Hold on. Shots fired. Wait. Just because our last name is the same doesn't mean that we have similar features.
Jeremy notes, someone could get qualified up to 50% of gross income for a mortgage payment if they have no other debt. This means $8,300. That's a lot. That's a lot. Can you imagine making $200,000 and getting approved for an $8,000 mortgage?
I mean, can I imagine getting approved for it? Yeah, because the banking industry is not your friend in this case.
Todd with some shots fired. Kristen obviously doesn't have to account for travel sports expense line in her budget.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not kidding.
I have so much more room to pay interest on my mortgage.
Right now, Ted Dame, did I tell you Ted, young Ted, is playing in a Liga Latino soccer league, indoor soccer league. There's not a lot of English spoken. It's primarily Spanish. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know Spanish. Mm-hmm. And so he's just playing and trying to figure out things. And it's really fun to watch. Also, it makes for a good Friday night. I'll tell you that. It's a good time.
I bet he's going to know certain Spanish things by the time this is over.
Yeah, that's he knows vamos. And yeah.
It's not what I was thinking, but okay.
What are we doing next?
It's your show.
Gosh, man, that was so much more passive aggressive than anyone realizes.
What?
Kristen, it isn't my show because when one of our coworkers was in Wisconsin this week,
yes,
he got fanboyed by one of your fanboys.
He did, yeah.
He's like, Kristen and Co. Like, yeah, we're a worldwide celebrity. Mm. By the way, I was pulling some show stats to send to some people for some things of which I've continued to tease. I want to go top 5 states of our listeners. Top 5 states of our listeners.
Okay.
Other than Indiana, which is number 1. Okay, so we're going to hit the top 6 because Indiana doesn't count. Okay. Who thinks they know the next state?
How about any of the states, not just number 2?
Okay, any of the next 5 states. What do you got?
Florida.
Oh, that falls right outside. That is actual 7th. So sorry, not Florida.
Kristen, you got to make it quick because this is going to fall apart fast.
It is either way. Ohio.
Yes, that is number 6 on the list. 5th without Indiana. That is correct.
Michigan.
Oh, doesn't make the top 10.
Interesting.
California.
California is number 2 or number 1 without Indiana, which, Dame is such a bastion of the liberal left that the California contingent tunes in for him.
They know me in my other work and my Discord channels. I mean, they follow.
Dame, that's so funny. Next.
Illinois.
Yep, that is number 3 or number 2 without Indiana.
Kentucky?
Oh, no. Texas and then New York fill out the list. Sort of just the big states.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Ohio, Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, and Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
So you're saying we could have a serious impact on future elections?
You could, for sure. All right, let's start the segment. I don't know what we're talking about in 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Kristen, it occurs to me that you believe that if a family who has young people, young humans who are part of their life. And these adults parent the young humans. And if they were to build a playroom or something,
Sorta, yeah.
what's this going? You were like, hey, if someone has a playroom, it costs $500,000. What are you talking about? What am I talking about?
Yeah, I am talking about the way we make housing decisions when you say, hey, we need more space because of whether that's you need a guest room or the kids need a playroom or you need an office. The opportunity cost of that extra room and how much does it really cost you over time is what we're talking about.
Okay, so you've just, you're making some housing changes, correct?
Correct.
So you are accounting for more people, and that's why you bring this up. You need a playroom?
No, more animals. The house is no bigger.
Okay. Give us an example of this, Chris.
Okay, so I decided to test my hypothesis and I pulled up a neighborhood in Indianapolis so that way, ideally, these homes would be in similar price, similar offering. And what I found was there was nearly a 6-figure difference in a 3-bedroom home over a 4-bedroom home.
Is this earth shattering? Like, what am I missing? Yeah? Like, okay. Like, what am I missing?
But Dame, what did you say to me when I told you that there was a 6-figure difference?
It was a long time ago. I don't remember what I said.
This is going great.
Yeah.
This is awful.
Tell me.
Damien said to me, no one's going to spend $6,000 or 600,000 plus 6 figures.
Yeah.
Words are hard. No one's going to spend 6 figures on a playroom. And I just fundamentally disagree with that because that's not how we're approaching those conversations. When you go to your realtor, you say, we need a 4-bedroom house. And this is our price point that we're looking at. You're not looking at the cost per bedroom.
That's probably true, but aren't you just going, oh, hey, we got 4 or 5 kids. We can't put them in drawers anymore because of how culture's changed. We need rooms. Isn't it that easy?
Why do they have to have their own room?
I don't know. So what we're saying is you said a $500,000 difference eventually or something like that?
Yeah, it's $500,000.
Because of interest?
Yeah, because of the interest paid in the combined with if you invested those dollars in your 401k instead, the opportunity cost is $500,000.
This is interesting because let's say I have one more bedroom that I need in my house.
Right.
What I think I'm hearing is instead of doing that, theoretically, I'm paying $100,000 less for the house because that bedroom doesn't exist. I then take whatever savings that generates and I invest it, and I'm better off in the end by not buying a room I'm not using.
Correct. By $500,000 in Indianapolis.
For instance, I mean, say you've got 2 boys growing up. They don't each need their own bedroom because I think what you can do with that money, maybe it's not for retirement. Maybe you're saving for college expenses because when they go off and go to college, guess what? They're going to live in a dorm room with another person. You might as well prep them for it. So what do you think your housing purchase is? I think it's a very valid point, a really interesting point.
So this is interesting. Okay. So if we're talking like this is a personal finance show sometimes. So if we're saying, how do you make the best financial decisions, especially related to housing, Kristen, given that so many people are drawn to making terrible personal finance decisions around housing, you say, okay, we have 2 kids and we want a 3-bedroom house. That would be parents have 1 bedroom. And then each of the kids have another bedroom. If it's 2 boys, Dame, right? To your example.
Correct.
What, Kristen, I think I'm hearing you say is, in some circumstances, by having a 2-bedroom house, it makes a massive financial impact on that family for at least a couple of generations with that one simple choice and arguably that one arguable inconvenience. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. But I would take it a step further and say, I'm not even advocating for you don't give everyone the space they truly need, but it's that next step of like, well, we need a guest room, or that's going to be used how often, or we need a dedicated space for an office that, okay, why couldn't the desk go in the basement? I think it's that really that I'm advocating for, which is that extra space.
Dame, I think this is a Midwestern thing. I have some relatives who live in very expensive places, and maybe it's not, they have exact the number of bedrooms they need. They do not have extra because it would be unbelievably expensive. And so they're sort of forced. Whereas if you live in a very affordable area, it feels like you've got more wiggle room there. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it through that lens.
I'm sure we've talked in the past about how the average American family has gotten smaller over the decades, and yet the houses continue to grow in square footage. This goes right along with the conversation that Kristen's putting forth, is that sometimes we just have too much room, more than we actually need. And are we a product of the economic success that we've had in this country? Yeah, in large part we are, but we also do it at our own peril, long-term financial peril as well. So maybe go back and reconsider some of these purchases again before you make them in the future.
Yeah, Kristen, like success and space are somehow, it feels like it's like a direct path, right?
Yeah. And, we talked about some time ago that on the show that I can't remember who it was. Some politician said that buying a home is one of the greatest generational wealth building tools.
Yes.
By buying less of it. You want to talk about creating generational wealth, buy less house, use that money to make more money. And that's wealth that can be used, passed down to your children versus, hey, mom and dad have to die so that we can get the equity that's locked up in this house.
I'm going to ask you guys something, and I am putting you on the spot. So just know, and you can always punt as always. Given your housing situation right now, Kristen, yours is a little complicated. Do you want more space than you have? I'm going to start with Dame because Kristen's yours is kind of a weird question given where you're at. But Dame, right now, in the space that you have, do you want more space?
No, the only reason I hesitate is because we built the place that we're currently in. There's always, like half a dozen things you wish you would have done differently. And there's a couple things that would have led to more space, but we're fine with what we've got.
Kristen, can you even begin to answer that question, or is this a little weird for you right now?
I have way too much space.
You have a 2-bedroom?
I have a 2-bedroom condo, and it is way too much space.
It's a full basement too.
Yeah, and it's a full basement. I use a fraction of the space.
Here's one for you. Again, it has to do with who's in your household too. We have a 5-bedroom house with 2 children. One of the bedrooms is in a basement, and that is a full basement. It's 4,000 square feet. Right now, probably a little too much space. Mm-hmm. 5 years from now, way too much space. Way too much space. And then I think ultimately what ends up happening is because you don't want to make a change or, again, change management, you just end up with too much space. Interesting. Thanks, Chris. What's the next? What are we doing after the break? Dame, tease it. What are we doing after the break?
You don't want to miss it. Tune back in as we talk about whatever we think of.
No, we got a question about an inheritance or...
Oh, yeah. Tax stuff, inheritance. Who knows?
Oh, it's the best show in the world. I'm Pete the Planner. This is Pete the Planner Show. Kristen, did that go the way you wanted it to go?
Didn't start the way I wanted.
Well, you put me in charge of starting it.
Jason, are you saying that you think I did or that I didn't share a room?
Hold on. Okay. Jason says odds Kristen didn't share rooms with a sibling growing up. Kristen, I always assumed you did share a room with Caitlin. Is that true?
You didn't?
No.
Wow, I would have bet you did.
Mm-mm.
At least for a while.
No. And we had an extra room.
Getting texts from my teenage daughter right now while she's supposed to be at school. So this is fun. What are these kids? She's telling me someone. Oh, she's just telling me there's a change in coaches at her school that she wanted me to know. Okay, let's do this question. Let's go, because I have to do other things. Sorry, Jeremiah.
There we go.
3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Dame, from time to time, we do get questions on this show, and I have one here in the inbox. Hi, Pete, et al. Et al is Latin. I believe it means and all. I think. Long-time listener, first-time caller. My mother recently passed away, and I will be inheriting her retirement accounts into an inherited IRA, which needs to be withdrawn within 10 years. She had already started her RMDs, required minimum distributions. So I know I will need to always timeout. Dame, time for timeout?
Yes.
As written, I have to tell you, this is interesting writing as a writer. So I know I will need to, comma, two. Very rarely do you see 2 and 2 next to each other, different forms, separated by a comma. It's actually lovely. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. The total amount in her accounts is around $330,000. I hope to put $8,000 in a Roth IRA each year, but I'm looking for ideas of how to offset my income taxes for this additional amount each year. Thank you, Dane. Before we get started, emailer, so sorry for your loss of your mother. May her memory be a blessing, but we can do our best to try to answer your question here. Dame, you have some experience in this area. So can you help us understand what's going on?
Yeah. So the writer, so I was looking for a name just in case I missed it or you didn't read it, but mom passed away, had some inherited accounts. Unfortunately, Uncle Sam says, you know what? I'm going to require the taxes off of that money. Your mom was already making the required minimum distributions, but regardless, you're going to need to as well. RMDs have actually changed a little bit over the last, 3 years when that law changed potentially, Kristen?
2019?
Who knows? It was last year was 1984 as far as I'm concerned, so it doesn't matter. And the way it works, super quick instruct on how required minimum distributions work. You take the ending balance of the account at the end of the year. You divide it by a factor found on a life table that actuaries put together, divide the amount by the number, and that's how much money you have to take out of the account the following year. Now, it could be a lump sum, could be quarterly, could be weekly. However you choose to do it, once upon a time, you just took that essentially for the rest of your life. Now the government forces you to take it out within 10 years. So there are a couple different ways that you can potentially manage how that taxable income, that side of the taxable income, because it won't be just an 330 divided by 10. It'll be a different amount each and every year. You can take more than the required minimum distribution, but you don't have to. You have to take at least that much. So looking for ideas on how to offset income taxes each year. So the easiest way, assuming you're still working, emailer, jack up that employer retirement plan contribution. That is going to be the most straightforward way to do it. And if there's an HSA available to you based on your health insurance plan that you've got at work, absolutely do that. That is going to be the lowest hanging fruit you can possibly do it. And if you can offset the amount that you contribute with the required minimum distribution, your income doesn't actually change. You're just diverting some of it back into a tax sheltered location at that point. So if you're looking for low hanging fruit, juice up how much you're going to contribute to traditional IRAs or retirement plans, not Roth IRAs.
All right. So I got to back up. Sorry. I'm dumb. I'm not a certified financial planner practitioner like you two. I'm barely I don't know what I am.
See,
no, I'm actually, that's not worth a lot these days. Kristen, this is all a function of, this was tax qualified money for another person. Mm-hmm. The mother received tax qualified status, tax advantage for a very long time. And like Dame said, Uncle Sam says, great, sorry for your loss. We got to get our money. We have to have tax revenue off of this. That is the basis of all of this, right?
It is. They used to allow you to take that over your life as the beneficiary, often called like the stretch IRA. But now they say, we're going to need it sooner than that.
And Dame, not to get in government spending and taxation here with you, I kind of get it. I kind of get why they want it. We can say it's unfair, if they waste the money. I kind of get from a tax revenue standpoint of why this exists.
If we're being completely honest, I do too. I think it's more than reasonable for the beneficiary to have an accelerated timetable to pay out qualified assets that they didn't save at that point. Now, if you want to get onto a different soapbox, we're going to talk about the Social Security benefits that that person may have forgiven if they'd passed away before they started claiming Social Security. But that's not the point of the question, so I will dismount the soapbox.
Okay, get off of that one for now. So, Kristen, this is different if the person just had inherited a brokerage account with no tax qualified status. They may or may not owe taxes on the inheritance, depending on how it flowed through the estate. But the other side of that is they are not going to be required to liquidate or take withdrawals out of that account because it doesn't have a tax qualified status. It is not an inherited individual retirement account, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's something to be thinking about when you are building wealth is if your goal is to leave money to heirs, what are the implications of that?
Yeah. Okay. Let's go a step further. What I think I'm hearing you say is if your goal is to leave money to heirs, don't leave it to them in IRAs.
I mean,
if given the preference, Dame, no.
I mean, yeah, given the preference, yeah. If you are concerned about the taxation of those dollars, then there are more efficient ways to do it. Put it in a Roth, put it in a regular old non-qualified account, and get stepped up basis. Or your heirs will get stepped up basis when you pass away, making the potential disposition of those funds very, very affordable for them. The only way that they end up having to pay a lot, I guess, I don't even know if that's the right phrase to use, is if you leave it to them in a traditional IRA, 401k, 403b, something of that nature.
So where we went with this is to answer the question is, how can this person simply just reduce their taxable income? Mm-hmm. It's just the route you went. So this answer, I should say, is the answer to many questions. And it's just simply, how do you lower your taxable income? Right? Because you can't avoid the taxes on the inherited IRA by rule. All you can do is lower your tax burden. And you started with make a more of a contribution to your 401k, which is almost always a pretty good option.
Yeah, I mean, if we have no idea how old the person is that wrote in this case, I'm guessing they're younger than age 70 and a half, but I picked that out specifically because there might be an opportunity for QCDs out of the IRA this place, so it never even hits their taxable income. That's a qualified charitable distribution, by the way, which is a nice little opportunity that people can make that are taking required minimum distributions that don't need it. It's an easy way to potentially lower some taxable income.
All right. What are other quick ways to lower taxable income? I'm going to guess you're going to say, all right, Kristen, we should have a guessing game of what Dame's going to say. I'm going to say maximize HSA contributions.
Yes, I said that earlier, but yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't listen, but if I were to not listen,
I absolutely would say that.
What else?
Well, I mean, taking this a step back, I mean, I know it's kind of overwhelming, but look at a 1040 and look at the above the line deductions and just know what things are available. I mean, or look at a Schedule A if you're going to itemize your deductions and just see what opportunities could be there based on your unique circumstances.
Yeah. So Dame, this is a challenge. This is like anything a person encounters in their personal finances. This is just an encumbrance, something someone encounters, they've got to deal with, and it just sort of happens. It's not bad. It's not convenient. It's just you got to do your best to lower your tax burden. It's that simple?
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's going to be a very common event for us as people pass away that have IRAs and 401ks going forward.
Good times. All right. Coming up after the break, we got biggest waste of money of the week. I feel pretty good about this one this week, but I also feel like I'm just calling out. Kristen's going to have a really good guess. and current events. A lot going on in the world. And maybe we'll find out if anyone in this show made a crypto investment after the crypto episode last week. We'll find out next. I'm Pete the Planner. Actually, let's do this. In our show Slack channel that is not on the air, because I don't feel like I want to out people individually here. If you've made a crypto investment, put yes. If you haven't, put no within the last 168 hours. Okay? And then I'm not going to say who. I'm just going to say someone did or did not. All right.
Went exactly as I thought it would.
Someone on the show has made a crypto investment after the crypto show last week. Someone on the show. Now, that being said, you should go listen to the show if you missed that episode. Number two, that is not investment advice. Just because 2 out of the 3 of us are certified financial planner practitioners, CFPPPs, you should not take that as advice. All right, let's keep it rocking. We have a new employee coming in today that I got to meet after the show.
Meet him on air. Bring him on in.
You think they're a college student? Do you think I should do that?
Yeah, in one of the segments after this last segment, bring him in. Let's see how they do under pressure.
Oh, that would be so mean. I would never have come back if you guys did that to me.
What do we think? Do you think I should bring in a college student in and just like, hey,
they've
come on
been
in
over YouTube and TikTok, and they're just a bigger social.
You tell him, Grandpa.
TikTok.
Okay, let's do this.
I didn't say.
Oh wait, you didn't say what?
I didn't say the TikTok.
You didn't say the TikTok. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week, right here on the Pete the Planner show, is the PPK rubber band gun gift set. The Walther PPK is an iconic gun, thanks in part to it being the preference of one Bond, James Bond. This gift set is built around a pair of hardwood PPKs, complete with walnut grips. The set also includes a squad of little green army men, like the ones you grew up with, to fire at when you're battling it out with friends. It all arrives packaged in a fitting U.S. military steel ammo can with 1,500 plus rounds of ammo, which are just rubber bands because it's a rubber band gun. So, all right, a wooden shaped like a PPK with a bunch of rubber bands. There are 2 of these. They come in a 10. Kristen, how much is this cost?
I feel like the ammo can is going to be the most expensive part of it.
I don't know.
This is $48.
$48. Dame, how much is this wooden rubber band gun cost?
I really planned on saying 49, but I won't do that. So I will go $29.
$80, $79.99. Look, this is kind of neat if you're like a gun enthusiast. I happen to not be a gun enthusiast. However, it's still kind of neat. Not $80 neat. Well, Dane, what was the move there?
Why do you have to be a gun enthusiast to enjoy that?
What I'm suggesting is the fact that it is a replica of a PPK, which is an iconic gun. So? You're going to enjoy it more as a gun enthusiast as opposed. Okay, let me just say what I'm saying here. If I went to my bride, my partner, and I said, a PPK, what's a PPK? And she would say, I have no idea what a PPK is. That I'm saying a person like that is less likely to appreciate this than a person who knows what different types of guns are.
But also because she's not a teenage boy. That's who this is for.
Oh, sure. All of a sudden, my wife's not a teenage boy. Dane, what's in the news?
It doesn't have to be a teenage boy. It could be somebody much younger. And I may or may not have had loads of rubber band guns, machine guns even.
Couldn't just, okay.
They're wonderful. They're wonderful.
Dane?
Pete, there's a lot of news this week that is somewhat disheartening, to be honest. It's going to be hard for us to avoid it, but I'm going to do my very best. So I'm just giving you fair warning. Okay? I'll start with something that we can hopefully rally around a little bit. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau on Thursday announced the final version of a rule limiting banks' ability to charge overdraft fees. It says the rule will save American consumers $5 billion annually. The regulator said that banks could opt to charge $5 for overdrafts, a steep drop from the average fee of around this many dollars per transaction.
37.
Kristen.
30.
35. Or limit the fee to an amount that covers the lender's costs or charge any fee while disclosing the interest rate of the loan. While overdraft fees have been a lucrative line item for the industry, generating $280 billion in revenue since 2000, according to the CFPB, banks' revenue from the service has been on the decline. That's because lenders, including JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America, have either reduced fees or limited the types of transactions that trigger them, while some banks drop the fee altogether. The CFPB rule applies to banks and credit unions with at least $10 billion in assets.
I have a terrible admission. I'm really embarrassed what I'm about to say, and I'm actually kind of scared. I have mixed feelings about this.
Okay, explain.
I don't have a problem with overdraft fees. And I mean, I don't mean like personally. I mean like philosophically.
I have a problem with the amount. $35 is egregious.
Okay, so maybe this goes to the point of the story here is, so there is certainly an inconvenience. Alarms go off when you overdraft. How much does that put out the banking institution? Like, what mechanism has to trigger? And to Dave's point, what is the cost of that? And if you don't discourage it with a punitive fee, then you would think the frequency would pick up, which then becomes even more problematic.
I don't think Freakonomics would agree with you on that.
Well, what do they know? They're only prize-winning economists.
Well, only one of them.
Well, so why can't it just be like an interest rate equivalent to prime on the money that you overdrafted? Like, that's what it costs to the bank. Or just don't let people overdraft. Problem solved.
I think that's less empathetic. Because you're out and about and you've got an emergency expense and all you have is your debit card and you overdraft and you can't deal with the emergency.
But I think the whole point of the legislation is to not take advantage of people in those compromised positions. And what's better, to just not let them overdraft the account?
Yeah, I think they should be able to overdraft the account, and I feel like there should be a somewhat meaningful penalty for doing it. And by the way, I've had overdraft fees. I have. Yeah, judge me. I have. Not recently, but at some point in my life, just because of mismanagement. Figure it out.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
it has to be a disincentive, but if it's $5, Dame, I'm not going to go. It's like DoorDash. Like if DoorDash is like a $7 delivery fee and I'm starving, then that's not enough of a disincentive for me to act. If it was $35, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Disagree. I think that I think that where people are coming from is that it doesn't matter to someone who doesn't have the money. If they have to spend the money, it's not fair to then charge them $35 because they don't have money.
No, it's because of okay. This is why I said I was afraid to bring this up. In the moment the person overdrafts, that decision is not in isolation. It is not in a vacuum that is the malfeasance or the mistake. It's the entire money management process that leads to that. So we're not penalizing the moment. And we're not trying to disincent the moment. We're trying to say the way you are managing your finances is not good, and we need to change that. Now, the argument on the other side is like, so why does the bank benefit from this? Like, that's a fair point. But I don't think the overdraft itself is the mistake. I think the mistake is way before that. Dame, you are a certified financial planner practitioner. I just learned this phrase today, so I'm going to keep going with it. What do you think?
I'm torn. I tend to agree with you a little bit,
Oh boy.
but I mean, let's get away with me agreeing with you for a second, because you did say something I thought a bit curious. You said if you were out and about and you needed to fix a problem, why couldn't you use a debit card and overdraft? But yet I do believe I was chastised roundly by saying you should travel with 2 credit cards in case one doesn't work. You would rather somebody spend money they know they don't have in a debit account versus just having another credit card as a backup.
You are Kristen's arguing this. I'll bring up Kristen. Kristen's talking about marginalized people.
I am.
Here. Marginalized people may not have access to credit, especially 2 credit cards. They've got access to one piece of plastic, maybe a daily pay debit card for that matter. So I think my point is, anyway, I win. This is tough. Like, I mean, this is a tough one because here's the hard part. Of course I have empathy for this situation, but it is the person's fault that overdrafts, and it is not the actual overdraft that is the problem. The problem is deeper than that. And the overdraft fee acts as a conduit to change. And it's with that, I let no one else talk because the show is over. One last show, I think, next week for the year. In the meantime, send you good vibes, because good vibes are all that's in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner. This is Pete the Planner Show. Spicy. Yeah, I guess where I think with any fine, it's like when the NFL, when some guy in the NFL does something stupid and he gets fined and the league gets the money or the league donates the money, like how does that work?
They usually donate it, don't they? Or it goes to some charitable organization. I don't know if it's their charitable organization.
The Roger Goodell Retirement Fund. Like, I think anytime someone is fined for anything, it is meant to be a disincentive. And so you could just argue, well, that fine is just benefiting the organization, the governing body, but it's like, you could make that argument about any fine ever. And so it's just because people don't like banks that, and like, why am I defending banks?
That was one of the things that I would have loved to have brought up, is that based on as much as I know of you, for as long as I've known of you, the fact that you are defending banking is just wild.
What is wrong? What? Anyway, Kristen, you sold your house.
Verbally, yes.
You verbally sold your house.
Correct.
Auction style?
A handshake.
Oh. Can I ask questions and you can tell me to shove it if you have to?
Yes.
Did a sign go up in your yard?
No.
Okay. Man, you can tell me to punt sooner rather than later, because the next one's harder than I thought it was going to be. Okay. Why not?
Why didn't I put up a sign?
Yeah, why not bring more? Why not have milkshake bring the boys to the yard, right? Like, let's have more buyers in the marketplace, no?
I don't need strangers coming in and out of my house. I showed it one time. The couple liked it. I feel comfortable with the price. Bada bing, bada boom.
Dave, can I ask you questions as her proxy? Because I'm starting to feel like I don't want to put her on the hot seat. I just have questions.
Am I answering as her?
No, I don't think we want to do that. Kristen, by the way, none of these are judgment. That's just all curiosity, right? Because obviously I trust you to make amazing financial decisions, as you do for yourself and everyone here at Your Money Line. Dame, if there's one private sale, don't you always worry that the price of the transaction is the right price because the market hasn't been set? Or how do you think about that?
I mean, there's the side that's going to say you're going to try and maximize the value of the property, and there's also the other side that says A, convenience, and B, just getting it done at this point and not having to worry about owning 2 properties at once, potentially, which I've done, not intentionally, but it wasn't a fun process.
Kristen, does that the convenience and having it done, I gotta guess that's the big one.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not moving until the spring. And I'm hoping for a very flexible move, and they are not on any specific timeline. So that's worth a lot to me.
How do the real estate fees go?
Well, you pay none when you sell it yourself. I'm paying no real estate commissions to buy or to sell, gentlemen.
How did the buyer find you?
The buyer found me because I am on the board of my HOA, and
Power move.
the yeah,
She holds 2 positions on
I
her board.
do. The vice president is moving, so she had to resign, and someone who wanted her house but didn't get her house then wanted my house.
Dame, does this make Kristen a politician?
I think so.
Is it an elected position?
No one else wanted to do it. I was voluntold.
So Kristen is a politician. This entire time, I thought we've been having good faith conversations about politics on the show, not knowing that you're a plant.
Yikes.
What would your campaign slogan be for your next election, Chris?
That's an amazing question.
I feel like it's better if you guys tell me what my campaign slogan is.
Elanius for all of us.
Oh,
That's a pretty good first rip.
yeah.
Okay.
In Kristen's name. Well, sort of a playoff on Christ's name. No, that's probably not good.
Right.
Number 2 is no good.
Just
I don't know. I like it. How, Kristen, did you consider keeping this property and accumulating a little bit of a real estate portfolio?
Yeah, originally that was kind of my goal. I never moved here thinking that this was a long-term goal. I don't really want to live in town, and I do now, which is relative. Pete would not say this is in town, but for me, this is in town. And my original thought was, yeah, I wanted to have it be an investment property, but I really, really, really love this house. And emotionally, I don't want to deal with other people living in it and not potentially caring about it the way I do.
And when do we think you're going to move into the other place?
Hopefully before like Independence Day, because I want to have a party.
So what are you going to, so you've just sold this house. When do you move out of this house?
There's no date.
How do things go in the country here? Like, I don't understand any, there's handshake deals. There's like 7-month delays.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Nobody wants to move in the winter. We have to put up a fence for cows. We can't be moving in the winter. The couple that's moving here is retired. They don't want to move in the snow. Worked out well for everyone.
Dame, all we know is I will be purchasing a donkey for Kristen in 2025.
It's going to be beautiful.
Pete. Actually, if I can get a deal, I'm buying a pair and they're Pete and Dame.
I'm all in.
Can one
Be a girl?
no
Oh, it'd be Pete.
no my what do you call my partner?
Your life partner.
He requested that at least one be a working
Well, that's going to
donkey.
be Dame. I want to be the leisure ass.
Yeah, can you we can get a mini and an actual working donkey, and they can be Pete and Damien.
Dame, you should have the working donkey named after you, right?
I think so.
Okay. And I'm more of a show pony. Like, am I the show donkey?
Yeah.
Prancing around the barnyard.
Whoa! Hello. Can you? This seems like a dumb question. You can't teach a donkey to talk, right? It's not like a parrot or a cockatoo or some sort. They go. Like, can you get them to like do anything?
Go up and do lessons?
No, but they are very vocal. So
Shouldn't I be the more vocal donkey though? Shouldn't we should take this under consideration?
yeah, that's true. That's
Oh,
true.
the college students here. Should I pull her in?
Oh,
Absolutely. Introduce her to the.
I feel like that wouldn't be great.
Is she whose side of the business is she going to be under, Ben or Molly?
Ben,
I think he'd be okay with it.
I feel like I'd get a
talking to.
Turn talking to.
I'm so excited about this donkey. I've been researching it, and Kristen, I even sent you some goat prices last week.
You did. And in the spirit of the donkeys, I've also been wait, it was requested that I ask you to look up like donkeys actually working to break cattle. Before
like YouTube, or do you mean like the prices of breaking donkeys?
No. As in like YouTube of like when donkeys break cattle.
Oh, okay. I'll look at that. As long as you look at giraffe fights.
Were they-
Those are wild.
Oh my gosh. Do you think these two donkeys, the show donkey and the working donkey, could have a giraffe fight on your farm?
I don't know that they could. I mean,
Have you seen a giraffe fight?
yeah.
Oh, okay. I think we've covered it all now, right?
This has been the Farm Report on WIBC. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, we're off the radio now. Like we're literally everyone is hung up. What do you hang up a phone? Everyone's hung up. What a boomer. Everyone's like, I'm done listening. They just slammed the stupid phone now. All right, here's my request. When we get Dame and Pete, the donkeys,
Okay.
there's got to be a photo shoot, right? Like Dame and I got to be right. Can I ride a mini donkey?
Not a mini,
But if I stand over it and like I don't lower myself onto the donkey,
I guess it just depends on how tame they are.
would it buck up?
It might.
Oh boy. Dame, have you ever met a donkey?
Some would say I might be talking. Never mind.
Dame.
Don't do that because then he'll just never text you again.
Okay, so Andy brings something up, and I'm going to tease a little bit.
Okay, that's fair.
Andy says photo shoot and live podcast. There may be a live podcast in 2025.
And it could be from the farm.
But no, because you can't sell tickets to that.
There's plenty of room.
Oh, there are always a live podcast, but I'm saying like an in-person podcast with an studio audience.
What are you going to sell tickets for your hay bale seats?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have to feed the donkey, or can I just buy the donkey?
You can just buy the donkey.
You don't have to come up for chores every day, Pete. They'll take care of it.
Once a month, you will have to do chores. So.
Will you? I think you should have a live donkey cam.
Oh, you could.
I could, because we could get, like put a blink or a ring cam just on the pasture so that you can check in.
Will this be like an indoor, like I know like Arnold Schwarzenegger, doesn't he have an indoor donkey?
Will not be in.
But you said it's like a little show pone, like, right? Like it can just like walk in and broadcast with you, right?
In my house?
But it's a farmhouse. I don't know how things work. Do you even own shoes? Like what's going on?
This isn't like Mr. Ed where there's like a split door and he just pops his head into the building every once in a while.
Yes.
Like the Craig Ferguson show. Do you ever watch his late night show where he had his pony and the side just standing there? Yeah.
My dogs don't even want to participate in the show. The donkey is not going to be interested.
Your dogs do want to participate in the show. You're just a show hater.
They're
as it relates.
literally sleeping. They could.
If they knew I was here, they would pay attention.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I got. Stay getting money.